I want to be close to the beach, but also medical facilities. I want to stay in the mountains, but I want to have access to modern amenities. Where can I go to have a peaceful life and really good Wi-Fi? We dig into it about the Dominican Republic today. So welcome back. I'm Lily from Tourism Lens, and I report on sustainable travel and conscious travel in different places across the globe. So people have been asking me so many questions about the DR since my last video about living there as a digital nomad for the past 7+ years. And they want to know, what is the perfect spot to go to? That's a really good question. I'm going to share some tips on the 5 places that I think are pretty cool to start with and will provide you with different aspects of life in the Dominican Republic, depending on what you're looking for. You're not going to know what's an exact fit until you move there, stay there for several months, and then go back there again. I recommend doing that for at least a couple of years so you really know what the feel is. Number 1 is Jarabacoa. I'm not going to lie, this is my dream retirement spot, or at least it was for the last 7 years. Jarabacoa is situated in the mountains of the Dominican Republic in the region known as the Cibao. It's 2 hours north of Santo Domingo. It's a very popular getaway for rich people, have their homes up there, villas and such, but it's not, necessarily just for the wealthy. It has a very solid community of some expats who go there and stay, been there for a long time. Others come there as Christian missionaries. It's a very quiet community. It's surrounded by so much nature. I mean, you have access to parks for hiking. You have access to rivers for freshwater swimming. There are 3 rivers that converge in Jarabacoa, and there's a park there that you can hang out at. There's a very big horse riding culture in Jarabacoa that is part of the Dominican culture. If you go to the flower festival that they have annually in Jarabacoa, you can see the full display of just how rich the farming, horse riding, ranch culture is in the DR. The downtown is really cute. It has lots of cafes, restaurants, ice cream places. It's very buzzy. Like there's a lot of motorbikes and scooters. That part is, but it's still not as crazy as Santo Domingo, and it is peaceful. I've rarely heard of a crime happening in Jarabacoa. Of course, you should always be careful, but I love Jarabacoa. If I could afford to buy a villa up there or even land, that is where I would put my money. Now, I don't know how steady the Wi-Fi is in Jarabacoa. When I was there, I could say at the time it was fine. I could get work done. I wasn't doing crazy uploads, but I was, blogging and such. So it was fine. The electricity was also fine. I don't remember major outages, but we also had inverters. So keep that in mind, and also you want to get current on how it is now, because I haven't been there in at least a couple of years. I think the last time we rented a villa for my birthday. I remember a couple of years ago, and it was like in a beautiful gated community, but the view was ridiculous, and we had this infinity pool that looked over like the mountains. It was like really, really nice, and that is Jarabacoa. Another really popular place for people who have just moved to the Dominican Republic is Las Terrenas. Now, I put it on the list because I think if you're new-ish to the DR, that will provide you with easier entry for like 6 months a year, if that's what you're looking for. There are lots of villas there. Beaches are incredible in Las Terrenas, no doubt about it. Remember that that's the Atlantic side, but it's still really pretty, beautiful, clean beaches, wide. You have access to rivers and nearby waterfall attractions. It's pretty spread out though, so to get around, you probably need, to hop on a motorbike taxi. I don't recommend doing that without a helmet, or a scooter. Rent a scooter. A lot of the residents there do that. By the way, there's a huge French expat population there, European expat population that mixes in quite well actually with the Dominican side. I don't know how it is now, but you know how that goes, right? So it's pretty harmonious generally, I would say, in Las Terrenas. There's lots of cafes, lots of very fancy little boutiques and whatnot. And the nightlife is lit if you're into that, I'm going to say though, be low key if you're going to Las Terrenas. Remember not to flash jewelry, not to show off what you have. Don't tell people where you live. I'm going to do a separate video on safety in the DR, but generally you want to be more careful in Las Terrenas and more watchful of where you go. But having said all of that, it's very buzzy. It's really fun. It has, you know, a beachfront market where they sell fresh seafood and you can eat at a number of vendors that are just lined up on the beach. It's an awesome getaway. A lot of also well-to-do Dominicans love to go up there for the weekend for the beach. I don't know how it would be to live there for, let's say, 5-6 years or like retire. I think that's a little bit probably of a different perspective you want to get from someone else. If you're really looking to go remote, and very country, very Dominican, very around agricultural areas, Constanza is worth considering. It is, you know, about an hour and a half north of Jarabacoa. It is at a very high altitude. It's probably the highest elevated town in the whole Caribbean. The weather is distinct. It does warm up a little bit it does warm up during the day, but there are certain parts of the year when it does get cold. Surprisingly, if you go to Valle Nuevo, which is just outside of Constanza, you know, and takes you deeper into the valley, you will see frost. It's just like, it's really amazing. I stayed at this really cute lodge. What was it called? Villa Pajon Eco Lodge. If you want to get a taste of a totally different side of the Dominican Republic, even if you're just visiting, go and stay in these really cute cabins surrounded by really floral bushes and you know, just like horses, farmlands. It's just like gorgeous. And you can go hiking there in the back, in the forest. It's all like giant ferns and it's just actually quite incredible. You're like, where am I? Am I in the Caribbean? And they have fireplaces inside. By the way, that's another thing. Constanza, even downtown in the hotels, fireplace is a common thing to have because it does get cold. Another one of my favorites when I was in the DR to kind of escape was Bayahibe. Bayahibe, yes, it does attract a lot of tourists only because it's a jump-off point from the southeast coastline to Saona Island, which is one of the most visited attractions in the Dominican Republic and is stunning, by the way. Saona Island is stunning. And so you'll see, you know, during the high season, during the high tourist season, you'll see a lot of people just pouring in with buses, coach buses in the parking lot, going to the boats and then going out Saona Island for the day. But you don't have to be in the middle of all that. You don't have to live right on the main street. You probably can anyway, because it's all full of like hotels and little restaurants. And if you find an apartment that's like a few streets back and, you know, it's a perfectly quiet, lovely place to live. I've also never heard of anything major happening by Bayahibe in terms of crime. It's one of the most peaceful towns in the Dominican Republic. I don't know how they've achieved it. My guess is that it's only just one road going in and out. So it would be hard to get away after committing some kind of crime. But obviously keep your wits about you all the time, no matter where you live. But it's really lovely. It's peaceful. It feels nice walking around, whether it's day or night. And it's a very tight community. People know each other. It's, I think it's a really nice place to retire if you're into that. If you want to be close to beaches and you want to also be, you know, a couple hours to Santo Domingo, you have access to clinics, or you could be in an hour or less, 45 minutes on the highway, you're in Punta Cana, which also has really good medical care. Bayahibe also has a quite large Italian expat community. So it's another one of those European hubs. And I don't mean recent. I mean like from like years and years ago. And then we come to Punta Cana. Now, there are a lot of people who want to move to the DR and say, I want to be close to the beach, but I also need to be really close to medical facilities. Punta Cana has the best medical facilities in the whole country for obvious reasons. And you are also very close if you want to be to an international airport like the Punta Cana International Airport. You're 2 hours also from Santo Domingo. So it's a pretty strategic location if you want to get out of the Punta Cana area, which is very touristy. And, you know, you can go up north. But in terms of living in that area, my husband and I lived in Cocotal at one point, which was lovely. It was very quiet, very peaceful. The rent was decent considering. And, you know, we had access to so many like swimming pools, a golf course. It's very secure generally, but you also want to be, you know, watchful. And there's a clubhouse also, Cocotal. It's nice. It's nice living, you know, close to the grocery store. You do need a car though. If you're going to live in the Punta Cana area, you definitely need a car. Public transportation is like crappy. There's a shopping mall, couple shopping malls. It's not a cheap lifestyle, obviously. It's probably one of the most expensive corners of the country. It's also what many say is the least Dominican, truly, but it does offer a comfortable life. So if that's what you're used to and what you're looking for, I would say that is the place to be. Also, electricity is 24/7, very expensive, but 24/7, as is Wi-Fi. And so, yeah, it's okay. I will admit that after about 2 years, I was really bored there. I felt like I didn't have access to things that I enjoy, like say a public park. Like I in Santo Domingo, I used to like to go to the park and we sit there, we talk, and we're outdoors even at night. It was fun in the colonial zone. But in the Punta Cana area, there's like no public park. Like, can you imagine? Like, there's nothing that's like an open green space. It's all privatized, or you have to go outside and drive, a little ways. And so that to me was a downside. So these are the 5 areas that I recommend you look into if you're thinking about moving to the DR or retiring. These are 5 possibilities. There are many, many, many more outside of that. I want to be clear. There are places that are super rural that you can live in, that some expats live in. In the north, Puerto Plata is very popular with a lot of North American expats because there's a community there. But I personally, I never felt like I clicked with it. That's a wrap, guys. I hope it's helpful, gives you a little bit of an idea, and that you are now, thinking of where you're going to move. Folks, if you have other questions, please leave them in the comments. I'm happy to answer. I'm here to help. See you next time.